Samson Dauda has won yet another show. Dave Palumbo here with an RX Muscle news update. The Prague Pro Show has let out. The finals are done. Samson Dauda has won yet another show. What a great year this guy has had. It is unbelievable. 2 wins after his 3rd place at the Olympia. He started off the year with the big win at the Arnold Classic and that humongous paycheck for $300,000. It's a good year for Samson Dauda. A lot of people would have liked to see him win the Olympia too, but hey, you can't get everything. You got to leave something for next year. Look, Samson is far and away structurally the best guy on the stage. He towers over everyone height-wise. He has roundness to his muscle bellies that you just, they're made in heaven. And his lines are just, next level. They're X-Man lines. They're like Tony Freeman. The guy brings all the bells and whistles you want to see from a top elite level pro bodybuilder. And it's hard to beat a guy like that when he's on. And let's face it, while Samson, could arguably be a little drier and a little harder, maybe some more detail in his glutes and his lower back, he's pretty close to perfect here tonight. He's a little on the smaller side, I think, than we saw him last week and maybe at the Olympia. But I think it's a better, more complete look. In other words, I think he's got more detail in his physique. And it probably shows a lot more in person than it does over pictures and video. Because detail is what wins shows. And I know that Samson probably realized, and his coach Milos, that going into this show, he was going up against Michal Krizo, who's going to be bringing ridiculous conditioning. And you don't want to lose to a guy who outconditions you when you know that you're better than him structurally. And I think it was a good gamble on Milos and Samson's part to bring in a tighter look with maybe a little less fullness, but more detail. And that won it for him. And he got unanimous first place votes, which doesn't mean he blew everyone away. It just means that every judge, felt that he was the winner here today. And I have to agree with that decision because at the end of the day, he is the best bodybuilder. And he's got the most wow. He is the guy who your eyes go to immediately when you see him posing on stage, even in a group. And we'll talk about Rubiel in a second, who's another super freak of freaks. But at the end of the day, aesthetically speaking, Samson dominated this show. And he might not have been the biggest guy for the first time, in a long time because Rubiel was really big. And Krizo's huge too. But he has the best quality in terms of how his body is put together. And that's, at the end of the day, what bodybuilding is all about. It's hard to beat a superior structured guy with just as much muscle, if not more, than you have, and great conditioning. So Samson put it all together. He proved that he is going to be a dominant force in the IFBB for the next foreseeable future, at least. And we might see him in the Mr. Olympia circle next year if he continues improving at the rate he's been going. And now that we see his conditioning has been getting better and better, I think by this time next year we're going to see a very, very dangerous Samson Dauda. But that's not to dismiss what Krizo did here. He came in, he delivered, he was the second best bodybuilder on this stage. I think there's no shame in that. He is an absolute freak. My biggest criticism of Krizo, believe it or not, even though he's crazy striated in the glutes and hamstrings, he needs more. He needs more glute. He needs a little bit more hamstring, a little bit more lower back thickness. But conditioning-wise, the guy is perfect. His arms and chest and shoulders are, second to none. He's got a good back, but his back could be bigger because he's got a big frame. And his front quads are ridiculous, but I think from the back and the adductors and the inner thighs, glutes, hamstrings can be bigger and thicker. He's a big man, and he has a lot of room to grow. How much more he needs to grow, I don't know, maybe another 8 to 10 pounds. I'd love to see what that would look like on him with the same level of conditioning that he brings on a routine basis when he competes. He was a solid second unanimously in that department. And then, of course, you have the freak of freaks, the new guy on the block, just turned pro yesterday at the Amateur Prague Pro, Rubiel Neckzilla Mosquera, who is, I'm not sure exactly who's working with him on all fronts, but I know Chris Cormier has been in the Netherlands training him, working on his posing, and I got to give Chris a round of applause. The posing was definitely Cormier-ish, and I heard Chris yelling from the audience, all the way from all the videos that were put up, and you could tell that Chris worked a lot with him, and he really, really was able to display his physique way better than I had seen in the past, and that made a huge difference. The guy is a super freak. He needs more refinement. He's got all the muscle in the world. I don't think he needs any more muscle on his frame. As a matter of fact, anyone who says he's not big enough is out of their mind. He needs to refine that. And I think he can do it. I think he can bring crazy, ridiculous conditioning. And when he does that, and he has a little umbilical hernia, I know he's going to get that fixed. So that's a minor, little thing that we're talking about. But he definitely needs to be more refined, get that dry, grainy look, and just keep refining what he's got, because he's got the biggest thighs probably in all of bodybuilding right now. I mean, they're like monster quads. They're huge. And I mean, they may be bigger than Rami's. I mean, because I'd love to see him and Rami standing next to each other on stage. He is like the new Rami on the block. I remember in 13 when Rami came around, and we were all like, holy mackerel. And Rami was 28 around then too. He was 28 years old. Rubiel's 28. We're going to see a lot of this guy. Someone posted a picture on Instagram showing where he came from. I think it was 2017 or 18 till now. And he's like, it's like a picture of him just standing there without a shirt on or something like that. And it's funny because I've seen my pictures, my transformation pictures within 5-year transformation, or gained 100 pounds of muscle. And I look, I was a long distance runner, and and it was a huge, obviously, amount of muscle I gained. And then I saw Rubiel's, and the before and after is crazy looking, because he's put on so much muscle. But the before picture doesn't look bad. You can see he's got delts, he's got arms. This guy genetically was a bodybuilder before he started bodybuilding. I wasn't. He has really good genetics. You could just look at him and say, hey, this guy's going to be... I mean, you can't predict he would be as big as he is now, but you can certainly see that he had a really good physique. He had all the body parts there. They just weren't as big. So it's not a shocker to me that he had that transformation, but obviously it took a lot of work to do that. The guy is just, he makes you laugh. He's so big and freaky because we just haven't seen anything like that recently. Once again, his waist is a little bit on the thick side, but he's got these really nice blocky abs. So as long as he can keep that waistline, tight and keep growing the upper body without growing the waist, he's going to be really, really good. He's going to be a dangerous, dangerous guy. But, after really examining the pictures and the lineup pictures, he's still not at the level of a Samson Dauda. Could he have beat Krizo? I guess you can make a case in certain poses, especially from behind, he could have beat Krizo. But, overall, Krizo was more polished. He had a little bit more conditioning, a little more stage savvy. So I think that you can, make a case for Krizo. But I don't think anyone would have complained had Rubiel, been second place here behind Samson, which is, your first pro show, you're going against Olympia guys. He knocked off Nathan DeAsha, who has to finish in fourth here. Now, Nathan wasn't his best, but he was good. He was a good Nathan DeAsha, so he wasn't off by any means. So that just tells you how good Rubiel Mosquera is. But at the end of the night, the show really went to Samson Dauda. He was the star of this show. But I think more people will be talking about Rubiel only because Samson has already won a couple shows and he already did the Olympia. This is kind of like the encore for him, whereas this is Rubiel's introduction into world of bodybuilding. He's going to add a lot of excitement. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at the Arnold Classic, to be honest with you. I'm sure the Arnold people would love to get him in that show because he is an exciting competitor. The truth of the matter is how shot is he? How tired is he? Does he need some time off? He is young. You know, young guys recover better from these type of things. Maybe give him a couple weeks off and put him right back into contest prep, because he doesn't need to be bigger. You know, he just needs to be more refined. It might be worth the paycheck, because the Arnold, Classic pays a lot of money now. So that's something that he's going to obviously have to think about. I'm sure Samson is going to be shutting it down till the Olympia next year, I would think, now that he has qualifications for next year. His main goal now is to win the Mr. Olympia competition. I doubt we see him again, unless he wants to collect another Arnold Classic check for $300,000. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I couldn't doubt him for that. But I have to imagine his body's got to be pretty tired. He's done a lot of competing over the last 18 months or so. We'll have to ask him about that when we interview him. We're going to do a full wrap-up of this whole show with full analysis with Chris Aceto, and we might have some special guests. I'm going to see if I can get Chris Cormier to join us as well for Sunday night. So you're going to want to check out Heavy Muscle Radio. That'll be live 9:30 Eastern Standard, and we will do the complete wrap-up. But for now, I'm Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle News Update.